forecast for the week of September 23rd, 2024. Let's talk about last week, only for context. Let's talk about last week because we had the lunar eclipse last week, and that was on Tuesday. And as predicted, the run up to the eclipse, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, there was a lot of tension. Things came to a head, stuff started spilling out, and all of that type of thing, as we would expect. And but the moon was one of those super moons. So it was really made quite a show in the sky too. Got a chance to see that. But it was after the eclipse. It was Wednesday, particularly Wednesday and Thursday, that things really seemed to be, in a way, uh, judging by my own experience, by clients and friends and family, it was really a tough time. Now, the moon had moved into Aries, still very much full, essentially still rattling with the eclipse energy, and in the sign of Aries, the somewhat combative, competitive sign of Aries. Uh, the moon in Aries, Mars in the moon sign of Cancer. The two planets, although they came to square each other, were in what we call mutual reception. They were in each other's signs. Only mentioning that because it should have helped, as should the sun's trine to Uranus. Although the opposition to Neptune, which I said, well, perhaps a little bit of escapism, that may have helped to exaggerate things a little bit more. Anyway, things sort of calmed down a little bit as we got towards the end of the week. A little bit. Now, the reason why I brought up last week is that we're not at the lunar eclipse, we're not at the solar eclipse, we're between them this week. The energy is still high. The energy is still above baseline, and that's an important consideration for us, okay? We're still likely to see things out of proportion. We're still likely to make mountains out of molehills. If you've got a molehill, it means you've got moles. You might have a bit of an issue there, but it's not a mountain. It's not a mountain. So there are things to pay attention to. We are getting that message to pay attention to things, but we're seeing it out of proportion. Still. Okay, so let's think about what's going on. Well, first of all, we have Venus now in Scorpio. Venus is not thrilled to be in Scorpio, as I went on and on about last week. Venus likes things to be delicate and nice, things to be formal and appropriate. Scorpio cares none of that. Wants the core, the deeper meaning of things, not so interested in the form and the formalities. So what this suggests is that for our socializing, it's a really good idea to focus on the stuff that really has kind of core meaning. Uh, if it's less the classical music concert, it's more soul music. You want to go deep and somewhat raw. And in socializing too, this energy for the next few weeks doesn't really favor formal events. I mean, the sun is in Libra, and it is sort of that time of year, but it doesn't really favor formal events. It much more things that are spontaneous and real, perhaps some passion involved. Um, and passion comes in all different forms, remember. So that's sort of where we're heading socially with things. Venus doesn't make that many aspects this week, but the feel is there, especially as she's at the very beginning of the sign. Now, Mercury. Now, last week, you remember that the sun formed a kite formation. And this week, it's Mercury's turn to get into the thing. It's going to make a grand trine from his own sign of Virgo. He's going to trine Uranus in Taurus. Then he's going to oppose Neptune in Pisces. and then he is going to trine Pluto in Capricorn. I know this stuff, it's just like pulling it right out is always a little bit of a thing. Anyways, Mercury, this is all happening before Wednesday, right? Okay, because on the 26th, early on the 26th, Mercury's going to follow Venus into Scorpio. So he's going to jump into Libra. He's going to jump into Libra. So enjoying the sun. So now Mercury is strong in his own home sign of Virgo. Mercury and Virgo, very much about the details, the particulars. Great energy catching this trine from Uranus early on. Let's call that Monday's energy, right? Innovation, changes, new ways of thinking about things on a practical level, right? Incorporating things on a practical level. Find new ways to do things. Pretty good. Then comes the opposition to Neptune. Now, let's say, we could really say that this is smeared across Monday, Tuesday. Mercury opposite Neptune is a recipe for confusion. Mercury Neptune is like Mercury retrograde raised to a power. And they're opposite each other. They're opposite each other. Very likely to play out in conversations, very likely to play out in dialogues, right? Not necessarily you're kind of a little bit off in your own head. That's a square or conjunction maybe. But this is a dialogue, right? The message may get confused, right? Mercury is really focusing on the details, but Neptune is very much big picture and is not concerned with the details and is, sort of fogging them out, exaggerating them. Again, this opposition to Neptune from Virgo to Neptune in Pisces. This is, you may have the right facts, but you're not necessarily interpreting them correctly or communicating them, or you're communicating them just fine, but somebody's listening to them and distorting them into their own reality. Or alternatively, someone is telling you something and you're kind of bending that around to the way you want it to be, or you're bending it around in a way that you really don't want it to be. It doesn't really matter. It's just that it's not quite right. Still a little extra from the eclipses energy. We're still right there between eclipses. Then we got this Mercury Neptune thing going on. The message getting bent and distorted. Message getting bent and all the more significant, in fact, because the facts themselves probably, not everybody, let's face it, we can't count on everybody's facts to be right, but the facts themselves may very well be right. The conclusions that they're used to support may be way, way off, right? So we have this kind of like twisty kind of energy, this sort of funhouse energy that's operative, especially through the beginning part of the week. Now, Mercury goes on to trine Pluto. To the extent you've got it right, this is a great time to speak truth to power. This is a great time to make your case. This is a great time to demonstrate that what you're trying to get across is, in fact, the message that should be heard. Right? But we're still, it's hard to shift, it's great that we have this trine to Uranus. It's great that we have this trine to Pluto, but in between we've got this opposition to Neptune, which is kind of like having its fingerprints over the whole thing. We got some great stuff, but can we get that great stuff away from the muddiness, the exaggeration, the reactivity that is so likely to be part of this? If possible, avoid things like major decisions, avoid technology purchases and all kinds. heaven knows that we always have an upgrade, right? There's always an upgrade somehow. It's going to make things better. If I don't upgrade my phone, then in the morning I have to put in my passcode. It's like a little punishment. Well, you didn't upgrade last night, so you can't just open it with your thumb. I don't have face recognition yet. I'm not there yet. As a, but but people with face recognition have to go through this too. In the morning, if you didn't upgrade, you gotta put in your passcode again. It's a little punishment for not upgrading. And then when they upgrade, it's usually not any real. It's actually not much better, and sometimes it's worse. Every time you mess with your workflow, computers do this too, actually, on my computer as well. Every time you mess with the workflow, right? You better have really made it better because now we have to do things differently. And this, right now, what I'm doing, Mercury, Neptune, right? And I'm recording this before we're even really close to the aspect. That's Mercury, Neptune. There we go. All right, got some good points, got some good facts. I'm taking up your time with it. What's that about? Anyways, treat the beginning of the week a bit like a Mercury retrograde. You know all the rules for Mercury retrograde and just apply them here. It's Mercury Neptune. It's not actually Mercury retrograde. Mercury's in his own sign, which is great. Don't trust it. Don't trust it. Try to avoid major decisions. Communication, try to at least speak in person or on the phone where the tone of your voice and your facial expressions can have some impact on the situation and not just the words. Watch out for communication via email and text, which always always subject to a little bit of misinterpretation and exaggeration. So you want to be very, I want to make sure that we can communicate the emotional message as well as the specific words, right? This is we want to make sure we get across the connotative meaning as well as the denotative meaning. That's important stuff. Then Mercury jumps into Libra. Well, you don't really jump into Libra, I guess. You walk appropriately into Libra. Where Mercury's fine in Venus's sign. It's very much the energy of commerce, very much the energy of commerce. Mercury in Libra, and that suggests that despite the kind of wonkiness that we might have at the beginning of the week, as we move toward the latter part of the week, we start to get the ability to negotiate a little bit better. We get, whether that's economic negotiations or emotional negotiations or anything else. I think from Thursday onwards, it's easier to get the message across. It's easier to be diplomatic. So save your stuff for the end of the week if you can. That's kind of the strategy that we want to be looking for over here. At the same time, the sun is going to make nice connections with Pallas Athene, and actually Mercury will also make nice connections with Pallas Athene as we go through the week. Um, a really good opportunity to speak your truth, a really good opportunity to get the message out there in a novel kind of way. Now we're getting close to the solar eclipse, right? Now we've got the diminishing energy is because the solar eclipse is on October 2nd. That's next Tuesday. So the energy is kind of winding down a bit. The end of the week would be so if you have a message to get across, it's a good time, no matter what the message is. But if there's some negotiations that are going on, if there's some kind of deal making that has to take place, this is when we'd like to do it. The sun is in Libra. The sun is in Libra since the 22nd, which is Sunday. And you may be seeing this before then. A lot of people watch on Saturdays and Sunday, but the sun goes into Libra on Sunday. Mercury follows in on Thursday, but they meet up. Well, they get very close together really early on because Mercury's moving pretty fast right now. So the Libra vibe is one of negotiation, diplomacy, following the Venus is not helping, of course. Venus is over in Scorpio where she's dealing with things on a more core soul level. But the Sun and Mercury are saying, well, we can negotiate, we can follow the rules, we can follow protocol. And even though Venus isn't really helping, that's a good watchword for this time. You know, follow protocol, go through the steps, fill out the form, do all of that kind of stuff. Perhaps a little tedious. Venus doesn't necessarily, it doesn't care which fork you use at dinner once you get into once she's the scorpionic vibe, and you pick it up with your fingers and eat it, right? The Sun and Mercury, on the other hand, when it comes to business negotiations, when it comes to anything to do with work, right? Socializing is going to be on a different page, but work and business, you know, mm, things that you have to just negotiate with others, formality, follow the rules, follow protocol. Again, it's a it's this the solar vibe for the entire week, but really, really, really hold off until the end of the week if you can. Okay, you got it? Socializing. Venus is, get to the core of the matter. Get to the core of the matter. Early part of the week, Mercury's aspects may be positive. There's a grand trine in Earth. You could probably work that out on a physical level, but communication is going to be very wonky. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, on the other hand, really good energy for communication, negotiation, diplomacy. That's your period of time that you're going to focus on things. I don't know why I couldn't have said that in 30 seconds and saved you all this time.